For thousands of years, empires have risen with armies, but almost none of them survived without something far more fragile: belief. Not belief in kings, not belief in gods, belief in money. Every empire eventually discovers the same temptation. When war becomes expensive, when debts grow faster than taxes, when survival itself is at stake, there is one solution that seems almost magical: print more. It feels like power. At first, but history tells a darker story, because every great currency collapse begins the same way, not with empty vaults, but with leaders convinced they can manufacture trust. And once that belief breaks, entire civilizations begin to unravel. This is the story of the paper empire. Not one nation, not one century, but a pattern that has echoed from ancient Rome to modern Zimbabwe. And what makes it dangerous is that it has never truly disappeared. The Roman Empire didn't collapse overnight. Its money began collapsing first. For centuries, the denarius was one of the most trusted currencies on earth. It paid soldiers guarding Britain's northern frontier. It bought grain from Egypt. It financed an empire stretching across 3 continents. But empire is expensive. By the reign of Emperor Nero, Rome faced rising military costs and growing political instability. Instead of raising enough revenue, the government quietly reduced the silver inside its coins. Most people never noticed. At first, that was the brilliance. And the danger: the coin looked almost identical. Its value wasn't. Under later emperors, especially Caracalla, the silver content kept shrinking. New coins entered circulation carrying the face of Caesar, but less and less actual wealth. The government could create more money. It couldn't create more silver. By the 3rd century, confidence had begun to fracture. Soldiers demanded higher wages. Merchants raised prices. Citizens started questioning every coin they received. Money stopped being a guarantee. It became a negotiation. Rome didn't fall because of currency debasement alone. It faced invasions, political assassinations, and military crises. But its money revealed something deeper. Long before an empire loses its borders, it often loses trust. And once trust begins disappearing, it spreads faster than armies. But Rome wasn't the last empire to believe authority alone could create value. Thousands of miles east, another ruler would attempt something far more revolutionary. He wouldn't dilute silver. He would replace it altogether. Imagine someone handing you a piece of tree bark and telling you it could buy a horse. That sounded impossible until Kublai Khan made it reality. In the 13th century, Yuan China introduced one of history's first large-scale paper currencies. Notes made from mulberry bark circulated across an empire stretching from the Mongolian steppe to southern China. Even Marco Polo could hardly believe what he was witnessing. A ruler had convinced millions of people that paper possessed value simply because the state declared it so. For a time, it worked brilliantly. Trade accelerated. Transport became easier. The empire functioned more efficiently than coins alone ever could. But paper has one dangerous advantage: it is effortless to create. As military campaigns expanded and court spending increased, more notes entered circulation. Every new crisis demanded another issue of currency. Soon, paper claims grew far faster than the land behind them. By 1796, the assignat had become nearly worthless. The consequences weren't measured in economic reports. The United States declared independence before it had built a functioning financial system. Winning a revolution required more than speeches. It required uniforms, gunpowder, blankets, food. The Continental Congress had one enormous problem. It could issue money. It could not reliably collect taxes. Beginning in 1775, Congress printed paper currency to finance the war against Britain. As more Continentals flooded the economy, confidence began to evaporate. Counterfeiters made the situation even worse, producing fake notes to undermine the rebellion. By 1779, the currency had lost most of its value. Inflation approached 50%. Soldiers watched their pay disappear before they could spend it. Farmers became reluctant to accept paper for real goods. The phrase, "not worth a continental," entered everyday language. It survived because people rarely forget financial betrayal. The revolution succeeded. Its currency didn't. America eventually built stronger institutions, a taxation system, and a central government capable of supporting its money. Freedom had been declared in ink. Trust still had to be earned. But what happens when a modern industrial power, with banks, factories, universities, and one of the world's most educated populations, loses that trust? Money is only as strong as the confidence behind it. Lose that, and everything built upon it begins to shake. Today's money no longer weighs in your pocket. It moves at the speed of light. Most currencies now exist as digital entries moving through banks, payment networks, and financial markets. Transactions that once took weeks now happen in milliseconds. The technology has transformed. Human trust has not. Global reserve currencies depend on confidence. Government bonds depend on confidence. Banks depend on confidence. Markets depend on confidence. The entire modern financial system is built upon a belief that tomorrow's promises will still matter. And that's why every major geopolitical crisis immediately becomes a financial one. Wars shake currencies. Sanctions reshape trade. Debt changes alliances. Confidence flows across borders faster than armies ever could. The battlefield has evolved. The underlying struggle has not. Who controls trust controls power. The printing press has never been the villain. It has always begun as a rescue. One more war to finance, one more harvest to replace, one more crisis to survive, one more year to postpone impossible choices. Sometimes that rescue succeeds. Sometimes it prevents catastrophe. But history offers a warning that stretches from ancient Rome to the digital age. A government can create more money. It cannot create more trust, because trust cannot be printed. It must be earned. Empires are remembered for their monuments, their victories, their borders. But beneath every empire lies a quieter foundation, an unwritten agreement between millions of strangers who wake each morning believing that today's work will still have value tomorrow. The day that belief disappears, the empire has already begun to fall.